I know.
Okay. Welcome back to another edition of the From the Fabricator podcast. I am Max Perlstein, your host. This is episode number 8. Thank you so much for tuning in. And once again, I'm thrilled to be joined by 4 excellent people, 3 different companies this month. And we will get to those interviews very, very quickly. But before we do, obviously a tough month since we last spoke. A couple big human losses in our industry. Bernard Lax passing away, as well as Dick McCurack Sr. passing away. And then just as I was getting ready to record this podcast, Apogee announcing the closure of the Viracon Statesboro plant and the Velocity glass plant in Dallas. Those are big moves with a lot. See, I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say at this point. I'll probably have more incoming weeks within the blog and so on. But tough moves, great company. Obviously, there's reasons for it. And that won't change how great Viracon is and the people that are there, as well as the rest of Apogee. But definitely something unexpected, at least in my realm. But I don't want to spend a lot of time talking this week because 3 really good interviews with folks that really bring some great insight. We're going to kick it off with Chris Dolan from Guardian Glass. Chris has been in this industry for a long time, 30 years plus at Guardian now, and just a great guy, a good friend, and some interesting perspective on architects, on our industry, on products. And he has an interesting product to keep an eye on too, which is the first time I've heard that on this podcast. So listen in for that. And then we have Jodi and Dan Martinez from All Star Glass out in Spokane, Washington. Tremendous people. I mean, my gosh. Really impressive. They do things the right way. So I'm honored to have them. And then we end it with Bill Daubmann of My Shower Door and also D3, and just a good person and a newsmaker all the time, and always on top of everything that could help build his company and build this industry. Much appreciated. And we finish it off with a special guest speaker talking about a couple TV shows to watch, a documentary series and a brand new documentary on Netflix. So stay tuned to the end for that. So enough of me. Let's get ready. Let's jump into these interviews. We're going to start off with Chris Dolan, Guardian Glass. Okay. Next up on the From the Fabricator podcast, I am thrilled to be joined by an old friend of mine. Even though he doesn't look old, he is an old friend of mine. Chris Dolan from Guardian Glass. Chris, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Max. It's great to be here. I've been listening and watching for a long time, so it's great to be part of it personally.
I'm honored. I've known you. I am honored. I've known you a long time. We do go way back, and I've had this theme on this podcast of people who never look their age. You're another one who doesn't look like he's been in the business for 30 plus years or longer. And I've known you probably 25, 27 years. We go pretty far back, but I only know about you. I know you went to Western Michigan, and I know you went to Wharton, but I don't know much really about your past. And it's funny, we've actually spent a lot of time together at basketball games, and we've talked. But this is a first for me. I don't know, how you got to really get in the glass industry and where you came from. Do you mind taking me back through your past?
No, I'm happy to do that, Max. But I first, if you'll allow me, to congratulate you on 10 years.
Oh, thank you.
With your successful business, and I really, have been impressed with what you've done, and you blaze your own trail. You really do, and so congratulations. I've known you longer than that. I've known you in your previous glass life as well, but I think that deserves to be recognized.
Thank you. That makes my day. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Yeah, to answer your question without too much detail, maybe I graduated Western Michigan, Kalamazoo, 1981. Late in 81, I was fortunate enough to work for Dow Chemical for 3 years, based out of their Atlanta office in an inside sales, outside sales. So it was my introduction to industry, industrial sales, industrial customers, industrial products, great learning experience, fantastic area in Georgia and the surrounding states.
Hmm.
And those 3 years went by really fast. And I did leave. I went to Wharton, got an MBA.
Okay.
That was back in the 80s. Maybe it was easier to get in those days. It was certainly less expensive, but even though I thought it was expensive even at that time. But once I graduated in '86, I wanted to come back to Michigan, and
Right.
again was fortunate to get a job with Touche Ross in
Okay.
their consulting group, which became Deloitte and Touche
Okay.
over time while I was there. And I spent 5 years there, but I missed being involved in business,
Okay.
in something tangible.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to come up through a recruiter for Guardian. I knew of Guardian. Everybody in the area knew Bill Davidson, and knew the Pistons, and knew he had
Hmm.
a company that was kind of the engine for his financial success. But I didn't know much about Guardian. And the thing that intrigued me was the international aspect. It was a very aggressive international growing company. And so through a interview process, I was hired, and I worked in international development for the first part of my career, and then moved more into the commercial sales and marketing area.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so you were born and raised in Michigan before you went to Atlanta? You grew up in Michigan?
True. Born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay, yeah, that's I knew that we're going to talk about it a little bit later. I know you're a lifelong fan of the Michigan sports teams, but just didn't know if that happened in the last 30 years that you were at Guardian, especially with how involved Mr. D had owned the Pistons, and obviously you just get ingrained in that world when you're in it. So
My
nice.
dad took me to a meet and greet, if you want to call it that, when I was 10 years old, or actually maybe even younger. And I met Alex Karras, and he shook my hand and he signed a book that I had on football called NFL 1967.
Nice.
And that was and I've been a football and a Lions fan ever since.
Okay, we are going to come back to that before this
Yeah, a lot of
podcast is done.
painful years there,
Yes,
Max,
no doubt, no doubt. But before we get to it, we'll stay on the business track. So at Guardian Glass, I mean, you've been there, 30 years. You just celebrated your 30th anniversary there.
Mhm.
Congratulations on that. And you've
Thank you.
seen an incredible, amount of things over these last 30 years. And for me, the highlight is the massive growth of SunGuard Glass, because I remember when you kind of got it off the ground. And I know you're always very deferential, and you point to so many other people that had a lot to do with it, but I always look at you as the godfather of the Guardian SunGuard line. You're the one who helped get it off the ground. That's got to blow you away to where it started out at and where it is now, and it's really rolling now. It's incredibly impressive, the program that you have.
Well, thank you, Max. One thing I could say is I stuck with it for all those years, right? We had the concept was high performance glass with short lead times and local availability.
Yeah.
And with the combination of, initially just one or two products and then growing, that had looks, performance, and then I have to mention the customers, obviously, because without the customers and the customer support, you just can't grow like that. So, at that time, and you'll remember this, lead times for high performance glass, they would go from, maybe 4 or 6 weeks to 16 to 20 to 24 weeks. And so having a product that could provide the performance and the looks, but be available locally and quickly, it was a great value proposition.
Yeah.
And the customers supported it. And, we had national projects and then ultimately international projects. So, it's been successful, as you mentioned, lots of people involved. Without the investment in the business and the marketing programs, the sales team, the technical, you can't have that kind of success. But the one thing I would mention, and this goes back to Bill Davidson a little bit, is he had a philosophy of growing, a little bit every year.
Hmm.
And a little bit every year adds up to a lot over
Yeah.
a long period of time. It's sort of like the theory of compound interest,
Yeah.
where a little difference makes a huge difference over a long period of time. So we kind of embrace that. Some
Hmm.
years we grew more than a little, but it's been a general, upward trend over that time period. And I'm, grateful to have been part of it.
It's a heck of a program, and the products are amazing. And you have two projects that we're going to talk about today that were
Mhm.
award winners. And that's one of the things that before we get into the projects, I really, really enjoy is at BEC every year. And then this year it was virtual. You have your awards program. And I love seeing projects being recognized, people being recognized. I do it on my blog each week now with the project of the week. And I just love that. And people are just so proud of it. And that's what makes this industry go. And that's gotta make your day too, is to gather everybody around. We'll all be back together again next year in Nashville again for BEC. I'm sure you'll have a whole another set of award winners. That's got to make you feel good though to see again where it all started, and then now every year honoring some amazing fabricators with incredible projects featuring your products.
Mhm. Glass is a beautiful product, and it's a unique product. And I think, I know you feel this way. I feel there's something innate about it that was interesting and exciting for me right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I like nothing more than seeing a completed project and seeing what it looks like, and going from the conceptual part to the execution part. There's a lot of satisfaction in that. So yes, the awards are kind of the culmination of that. The project I wanted to highlight today is a combo project.
Yeah.
It's two buildings, but it was one big project. It's Orion Construction. It's downtown Grand Rapids, which for those in this area is kind of a mini booming
It
area.
is. Yes.
It's a office building called Warner, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a hotel, a Hyatt Place. The architect was Tom O'Toole with Ghaffari. Orion is the general, and then there were two glazing contractors, Precision Wall and Glass Design, and that's because they wanted to get it done fast track. I mean,
Right.
it fits everything we're talking about here. Fast track project. They needed two glazers. They want to do it simultaneously, and they wanted the buildings to complement each other, but not be too distinct. So one of them, the Warner, is a light gray substrate, SN54. The Hyatt, with their logo, they wanted to kind of match the blue logo, so they chose SN68 on crystal blue. I have to mention Glass and Metalcraft
Yeah.
because they fabricated the glass on both projects, did a tremendous job. And there's clear low E SN68 on both projects in kind of the podium lobby area.
Mm-hmm.
And the Warner has a point supported system, which is one of those really cool things that, you can do with glass where it kind of looks like it's floating a little bit out there. And so Glass and Metalcraft did the whole thing, supplied both the glazing contractors, and it's really exciting. I had the opportunity to tour it recently with Chad Rakoff, who's the glass design, estimator project manager, kind of
Right.
oversaw everything, and really impressed by the work that they did, and appreciate, he took the time to kind of show me around there. I could see it from inside and out. Great project.
Absolutely. And kudos to Andy Russo and Glass and Metalcraft. I mean, they did a fantastic job. And those of you who are watching this on the YouTube feed, you've seen now the pictures because I put the pictures up of the project. Those of you who are listening on audio through Apple or Spotify, you can go to guardianglass.com. And I'm sure those pictures are up there along with so many other incredible projects that the Guardian team has done over the years. But again, it's a great area, great projects, and it just shows, how your products have really come to play. And so, congrats to everybody on that one. This is a real powerhouse of a grouping and great collaborations all the way around.
Thanks. I totally agree, Max, and thanks for helping us highlight this and highlight all the partners and the great work that they did.
My pleasure, and they're good ones, and obviously the architect you mentioned was Ghaffari, which
Mhm.
I've known my entire life growing up in this industry in Michigan. They're very, very powerful, but it leads into my next question, and that's the architecture community is a quirky one. It is
Mhm.
a tough one to get in front of, and the one thing that I've always been impressed with you. And again, I'm with Chris Dolan. I didn't introduce you properly in the beginning. You are the director commercial segment and technical services at Guardian Glass. I've known you so well, I just jumped into the interview. But The one of the many things I admire about you is that you're able to have great conversations with everybody in that supply chain, whether it's the glazing contractor, the fabricator, the GC, or the architect. But the architect's the one that kind of vexes me because they're so different and quirky. How do you go about trying to push the vision of glass and glazing and guardian glass to them? And how can we as an industry get better with that community?
Mhm. So I would say architects, they have a tough job, right? They have to know literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different product types, and they have to kind of put it all together. And it's not always perfect. When they need information, they need the resources to be
Right.
there.
Right.
They love glass. I think just like we do, most architects, they really love it. They want to use it. I think something that we've tried to do with success over time is look at it more holistically from a systems point of view. We're the glass manufacturer and the coating manufacturer. We try to understand as best we can our customers and how they fabricate, the contractors, and we're not experts in the glazing, but we have some knowledge on the metal systems and the performance. And when you marry the two together, what you get. And we can then provide a resource to the architect that's beyond just the glass
Right.
component.
Right.
And if we don't have the answer, we through our network, we can quickly get answers. And I think if you're in this business and you're trying to win projects, and that's what it's all about, having urgency and a comprehensive response to these questions that come up, it's really important because the architects, they may not want to see you for the 3 times you call on them, and that fourth time when they call you, they expect a response quickly. And if you give them that, that's going to help get your product specified the next time. So we've tried to do that, try to instill that sense of urgency and that knowledge through our sales team and technical services team to be able to contribute on more than just the glass itself.
Yeah. No,
And
and you
I
have
think
a
that's helped us.
No, and you have a heck of a team, and that makes sense, and it's just something, I've talked about it on here, and it's still a challenge. It's being able to get over that. You knock on their door 3 times, and they don't want
Mhm.
anything to do with you. But boy, when they want you, you need to attack that, right away. And that's for some people, it's hard to flip that switch, And so
Mhm.
you and your team and everybody there really gets it. And we just has an industry, we have to work harder at that. We have to. I know
Yeah.
I get soured sometimes, but you have to fight through it because I do think that I lose perspective like some others do, that these folks do have to know in an amazing amount of products to put this
Right.
all together. And they're even having labor problems like we are. I mean, I've noted on my blog that even architectural firms are short on people right now,
Mm.
which is something. So
Haven't seen that
no,
before, really, that I can remember. It's funny, Max. Architects, they always want to know what's new. We always try to have something new all the time,
yeah,
and then the next question is, "That's great. Show me the 3 projects where you've installed it already."
that's it.
So you have to kind of dance your way through that.
Yeah, and again, that's where we're pointing back to when you launch SunGuard, you had to launch with nothing behind it, and that's the sort of obstacle you guys had to overcome. And now,
Right.
all these years later, you have. So, it makes me think. You just brought up about the new products. What is there a new product or a new trend that excites you?
Mhm.
What are you thinking about here for the future? I mean, you've seen so much, you've been a part of so much. What's on your radar now that you can share? Because I know you
Mhm.
there's stuff that you can't share, but what can you
Right.
share that's exciting coming down the pike?
Yeah, you always have to have something new. I think one thing that has been, consistent through all these years is we've always had new products, new programs, something new coming. We launched a product, SNE 50, last
Okay,
year, which is I'd call it medium to higher light transmission, but very low solar coefficient, neutral, little bit of reflectivity, really a pretty beautiful product. We're going to have more new products coming. I can assure you of that later this year and into next
super.
year. We have just launched the super jumbo size. So jumbo has kind of taken the industry by storm, and I
Right.
would say, I'm very impressed with the customer base and how they've adapted or adopted the jumbo size coated glass,
Yeah.
which didn't exist until a couple of years ago. And, most of the customer base can now handle that kind of product, either from cutting, and many of them can do oversized finished units. That trend is going to continue. And super jumbo, 240-inch, which is 20 square feet. We make our products in that size as well. So big keeps getting bigger, right? I think bird friendly is another one. We've got a couple of options in that area. We'll have more in the future. I know the sales team tells me that's half of every conversation that they have, and it's complicated trying to explain how that works and what the options are, and the opportunities and limitations. But I'll tell you, Max, one thing I'm excited about, and it's a little bit of maybe what's been here, but people didn't fully recognize, in my opinion, is triple glaze.
Okay.
Triple glaze has never been hugely popular in North America. It's been growing.
Right.
In countries in Europe, in some markets, in Germany, it's 50% of the commercial installations. It's a tremendously high performing glass product.
Right.
And I really think that we're going to see growth in triple glaze over the coming years. You look at the new energy codes, you look at the capabilities of the fabricators, you look at some of the coatings that are designed in a way around triple glaze with light transmission and the interior surface options. You don't have to have, VIG is an interesting technology, has its place, will probably grow over some period of time. But you get the performance of triple glaze, you can have it now, and you've got multiple options to fabricate it. I think it's not recognized as much as it will be in the future.
Interesting. That is definitely one to keep an eye on. And the other thing is that there's machinery now that can support triple glaze. That back in the day, you didn't have that ability to make it from a fabricator as easy as you can now with the right machinery. And there's so many good automated options. The triple glaze is no different than making dual glaze. And so it's a good point. Very interesting.
Automation is the key, right? Because you can't have big triple glaze units and try to muscle them around with people. You've got to have the equipment. But I see the customer base making that investment.
Yeah, they have to. We as an industry have to, and the more automation, the better, and the better for our product, and the better for our folks and the health, and especially going back to the jumbo. Architects and designers want bigger sizes, and so that's heavier and a bigger challenge in a plant. You don't want that human factor. You definitely need the automation. You need the cranes and everything to move things around versus the way we used to do it 20 years ago.
That's right.
So, excellent. I have two more questions for you because I am respectful of your time. I'm with Chris Dolan, Director, Commercial Segment and Technical Services, Guardian Glass here in North America. And you also sit on the board of directors of the National Glass Association, which is something that obviously, I'm very connected to the NGA. They do pick up my blog and my podcast. I work with them on GlassBuild America. I'm a huge fan of Nicole Harris and everybody there, Andrew Herring. But I'm thrilled that you're on the board because I love the perspective that you bring. I always have been a fan. How is it being on the board of directors of NGA, and what's it like to be a big board member of the largest trade organization in the North America?
Well, I just joined last year, latter part of last year. I'm also a big fan of Nicole. She does a tremendous job. Very impressed with the work and the win-win attitude on the combination of Ghana and NGA. And so when she asked or invited me, I was happy to have the opportunity and to work with her and the other board members. It's a great group: fabricators, suppliers, dealers, specialty type companies, contractors. We've been doing it all remote up till now.
Right.
And so I don't think I've had the full experience yet, but
True.
we're looking at GlassBuild in Atlanta in September to meet in person, to attend the show. So it's going to get better, even better as we go forward here. But really looking forward to GlassBuild, to the in-person board meeting, as well as the show and the glazing forum, which we're sponsor for.
Yes.
And it's been a great experience so far, Max, but I'm still a little bit early in the process too.
Okay. Well, I'll touch base with you after GlassBuild and
Mm-hmm.
see how it all goes. But I'm thrilled you're on that group, and it's a great group of people. And
Mm-hmm.
I too, as you know, are very excited about GlassBuild coming up next month. And
Mm-hmm.
those of you listening or watching, if you haven't registered yet, you need to do that. Glassbuild.com and go ahead and get your accommodations before they sell out. So you want to jump on that. But that's coming up next month, and I'm excited to see you there. Before
Me
I let
too.
you go, though, so I have to
Yeah.
ask you, okay? You mentioned it before, you're a huge Detroit sports fan.
Mm.
And so my question for you is which of the four Detroit sports teams, the Lions, the Tigers, the Pistons, the Red Wings, is going to win a championship first? Which one's coming first? Now I know you well enough that you're going to say your heart always says the Lions, because I think you are a bigger Lions fan than anything else. But they seem to be a little far away. We both go through this every
Oh,
Sunday during the winter. Which one of the four is going to be the next champion of their league?
that is an awesome question. They're all on the upswing,
Hmm.
right? I think rebuilding the Lions, it's unbelievable. Been rebuilding in my entire lifetime, and I don't know how many times we've gone through this process. Someday I'm going to see them win. I'm going to see them win the Super. I know it's going to happen. Honestly, I don't think any of them are that close to it.
Gotcha.
I think we've got a few years. Love what the Tigers are doing. Love what the Pistons are doing.
Hmm.
Probably, logically would say the Pistons have maybe a shorter path, but I mean, winning a championship is so tough and so huge. But I'm going with my heart, and that's the Lions. They have got to do it, and then we're going to have a big party when it happens.
And so that brings the next question: how much are you paying for that Super Bowl ticket for a Lions Super Bowl? I mean, are we talking mortgage the house thing, or are you just going to stay at home and watch it and take it all in on TV? I assume you're going to
I'm
go.
going. I've
Okay.
been waiting my whole life, so
Yeah.
I'm going when it happens.
NFL may have to, if the Lions make a Super Bowl, the NFL may have to move it to U of M Stadium, or a stadium that seats, 120,000 people, because I mean, I've lived in Detroit now, since, 97. And,
Mhm.
and my gosh, I mean, everyone will want to go to that Super Bowl that's in, Metro Detroit area, state of Michigan, just because it's never happened. I mean, people are going to lose their mind. So
Well,
let's hope it happens here soon. Yeah.
You saw Calvin Johnson at the Hall of Fame, and he did thank the Lions fans, and
Yes.
he said the fans loved him when he was here, and that's how the fan base is. So they'll go nuts if when I'm not gonna say if, when it happens, they'll go nuts.
All right, so you're going with the Pistons to
I'm
win the
going.
title.
Well, my brain says the Pistons, but my heart says the Lions. So
Okay, all right, that works. That works, and we'll keep tabs on it. I do appreciate you taking the time today. This has been great. I did not. It's neat. I never knew in all these years I knew you, that you lived in Atlanta for a while, and so that but you made your way back to Michigan, and have done so many great things at Guardian, and still doing great things at Guardian going forward. And excited to see you and your team at GlassBuild with your exhibit there, also supporting the Glazing Executive Forum, which is going to be fantastic. A really nice day scheduled with that, with some really
mhm.
good speakers, and good, really learning opportunities there. So excited to see you then, and thank you so much for taking the time doing this. It was great to get to know you even a little bit better. This is awesome.
Thanks, Max. Really appreciate the opportunity, value our friendship, and it's been fun to talk to you this morning.
Awesome. See you next month, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Okay, I am thrilled for my next two guests. It is Dan and Jodi Martinez. They're the owners, president, and vice president of All Star Glass out in Washington State. Dan, Jodi, thank you so much for being here and being on this podcast. I've been a fan of yours from way afar, all the way across the country for a long, long time. But it's great to have you on here. I'm looking forward to getting to know you today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So let's go backwards. I read on your website, 14 years, 14 years ago plus or so, when you started All Star. But you guys didn't come from, most of the people I interview either had a mother or a father in the business, a family, a connection to the business. You guys came into this cold, right? You just kind of, tell me how you got into All-Star Glass and got into the glass and glazing business.
Well, it actually starts quite a few years before that. So when I graduated from high school, I took the year off like everybody does, and then decided I was going to go to school. And I ended up going to work for a company in Missoula, Montana called Garden City Paint and Glass.
Okay.
And then I went to school for about a year and a half and was working simultaneously. I dropped out of school, went back to Helena and started for Frontline Glass in 92. So All-Star Glass is the last roughly 16 years of our career, but I myself have been in the glass business for 30 years.
Okay.
Starting all the way back, like I said, with Garden City Paint and Glass when I was 19, I suppose. I guess I was about 19 at the time. And then I just turned 21 when I went to work for Frontline Glass, Mark and Petra Meek in Helena, Montana. That's where I started kind of full on into the glass business. At the place in Missoula, I was making some IGs with an old butyl machine and mixing paint, basically, is what I was doing back there. But that was just for a summer. And then after I left college and was kind of trying to figure out, okay, well, college isn't for me. What am I going to do? I thought, well, I really enjoyed the glass business, so let's get back into that. But you're right, there was no history. My dad is mechanical and was a variety of jobs, kind of a jack of all trades, did a bunch of different things. But oddly enough, the glass was the one thing that he never did. So I just kind of lucked into it in a summer job. And then it turned into a career some 30 years later. So,
well, two things. They say when you get into this business, you never leave. So that's the one thing. Right. And then I have this knack of getting people on this podcast who don't look anything like their age. You're telling me 31 years in the business, you look like you're 35. Were you glazing in kindergarten here? I mean, my goodness.
I just turned 51 this year, actually. So I've been at it a long time, pretty young, of course, but to have stuck with it all these years with no background or other influence, I guess I must have really enjoyed it. And my progression through it all has been something new, from, like I said, mixing paint and making IGs by hand to when I left Frontline Glass back in 2000. I had been promoted to operations manager there when I left. So. But we wanted a change of scenery. We wanted, some different opportunities for our kids. So we started looking elsewhere. So, but no, I've been very fortunate in my glazing career to have had my skills and abilities acknowledged and allowed me to move up. Sometime in hindsight, it doesn't seem like it was that quickly, but honestly, the last 30 years have flown by fairly quickly, and I can't believe I've been at it this long. So
time does fly. And Jodi, you said you married into it, so you had no experience, and now you're I mean, you were.
And I was one of those people that when you said glazer, like the first thing I thought of was a donut, right?
Yes.
Like that was me. So.
But now you're deep into it, because I know you're kind of ride or die glass industry, Jodi. I mean, I see you online, LinkedIn. I mean, you represent All-Star Glass extremely well. So I mean, you're into this, so you've gotten the bug too.
Yeah. When we moved to Washington, we specifically were seeking out something that we could have a business ownership opportunity, and it was always going to be a joint effort. Right. But I did work elsewhere for a little bit until we felt like, okay, let's put all of our eggs into this basket. And for me, that was 2007, and started off in sales and just kind of learning, what glass was all about, the widgets, as I like to say, and then switched gears in about 2013 and went behind the scenes and started doing the books. And I think it was right about that time that the workforce talk was starting to happen, where there was clearly going to be a shortage coming up. And so we kind of changed our perspective and our conversations, definitely talked to our kids a little bit different and their friends. And I, at that point, really dove in and made my voice heard. But really, I speak for both of us.
Right.
When we moved here in 2000, I came to work for another company, Modern Glass Company, and they were gracious enough to likewise kind of promote me up through the chain. And then as that group of owners was looking at retirement, they started strategizing about the 3 facilities. We had three locations at that point. And so we kind of started strategizing, and they were gracious enough to offer me an ownership opportunity separate from them. But they made a great way for me to be able to buy this business from them in 2005. So that's we've basically been All-Star Glass since 2005, but I worked for them for 5 years before we got that opportunity. So, and they're still a very good competitor. We see them at a number of functions, and like I said, they were very gracious to give me an opportunity to in essence become a competitor. So
Sure.
So I'm very thankful to them for that. So
we take a lot of grief sometimes in our industry, but there are a lot of good people in this industry, that really get it.
for sure.
And so that's a great story of somebody that, was comfortable in their own skin, trusting you that you're going to be a good competitor and a good person. They obviously knew you, so it worked out. And I think sometimes we don't get a fair shake of people thinking that we're all bad actors sometimes, and we're not even close to that. That's a great story of proving it. So Jodi, one of the things that really, jumped out to me about you is, again, we don't have a huge representation of females in the glass industry, especially at the higher levels and the management side. But it's starting to seemingly grow. There seems to be some momentum there. Are you seeing that? And what are you doing on your end? And how's that going? Because you're definitely not in the majority there or anywhere close at this point.
Which is funny, to hear you say that. And then when I saw that question that you set me up for, I don't know if it's a Pacific Northwest thing, but there's a lot of women in construction in our area.
I like it.
Even Modern Glass, their president is a woman. Like it's not, it definitely is not the majority, but we're not unicorns out here. We are all just working, and everyone has to do a job. And so why can't this be my job? And I'm going to be really good at it. So while I know that there is talk of that, maybe in the bigger cities where there's bigger populations, so of course there's going to be less women, but I do not see it as being a highly unusual thing. I feel like it's just naturally what I'm going to do if I'm going to be in the position of leadership, and whether I'm a woman or a man, I'm just going to try and do my best. So
sure. No, that's
I for sure see it changing in terms of needing more people in our industry and women being in the field.
Yeah,
that's what I see being an increase.
Yeah.
Well, of all the glass shops in Spokane, when I moved here in 2000, there was one female project manager of all of us in Spokane that did that. 2 of my 3 are women. I have 3 project managers, estimators, and 2 of the 3 are women. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
Like Jodi said, to see that, you hear this type of thing and you think about it from your perspective, or your regional perspective anyway. And I don't know if it's just that everything is different in the Northwest, which it generally seems to be anyway, but there's been a big representation of a big diversity within the glass industry. As far as we're concerned, we've seen that for a decade or more. So maybe it's just taking the rest of the country to catch up a little bit, but here on the West Coast, it's pretty common hat around here to be a female and be in the construction industry in general for us. So.
And it may be because, as you were talking and you brought up about, the region there, it made me think about, ICD, which is in Vancouver, Washington, has, Chris Fockler, who's a great leader. And then I had Casey Anderson on this podcast, and she's off the charts, tremendous. And, and so, you got my mind going. I'm like, yeah, maybe it is the Pacific Northwest. It must be in the water out there. And I like it. So let's keep it going. Let's get it coming our way. So, one of the things that I wrote you guys about this, I love, you have a line on your website, and I'm going to read it for the audience. That's, quote, "We strive for excellence. We thrive in challenges. We drive with purpose." I absolutely love this. How did you guys come up with this? And I mean, how do you keep this going within your culture, to your group? It's such an awesome message.
Well, she came up with the message. She actually wrote most of the narrative that's on our website, like our backstory, the about us portion of it.
Sure. And let me just put in there, it's the website for folks. It's All Star Glass Company, all grouped together, allstarglasscompany.com. If you want to see it, it's a great website. Sir. But go ahead, Dan. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yep. No worries. So Jodi is very articulate and has really kind of become the face of the business. Honestly, I've been at it a very long time. And while I won't say that I've lost my vigor for it, I'm certainly looking toward retirement. As I'm, like I said, I'm 51 years old now. So, and a lot has changed in that, and a lot of that adaptation has happened with that, but she's super articulate. She's very well read. And so she has taken, basically what we took over as a, kind of nuts and bolts. I was always very involved, as a PM and an estimator. That's what I did. I hadn't really started with ownership or management responsibilities until, geez, probably, you know, mid 2010s or something like that is really when I kind of had to start to wear that hat more. But she really did that. And I think after she stepped into a more managerial position or involved with the bookkeeping and HR and all that kind of stuff, I think the culture that we started building really started taking root with everybody. And so I think quite organically, probably a lot of that came to her in terms of what our culture is. And that's a lot of what it is. We preach constantly about teamwork within our organization, about the culture that we have, not only being skilled tradesmen and craftsmen, but really buying into what it is we do here. And as a result, we have some very loyal people that have been with us for a very long time, new people that come to us and say, oh my goodness, this is just unlike any other position I've had within this industry. You guys just do things so completely different than anybody else. The nuts and bolts are the same, right? We're curtain wall fabricators, storefront fabricators, installers, glazers. The nuts and bolts and widgets of what we do are the same as everybody else, but we differentiate ourselves in the culture of how we operate as a business, our team mentality, our every guy, you know, every person looking out for another person, and really kind of being our brother's keeper here and really trying to make sure that we succeed as a team, or unfortunately, sometimes we fail as a team. So,
right.
I just took, you know, kind of our core values, which we have never written out as a mission statement. This is about as close to a mission statement as we've ever had, but we were revamping our website and we had to come up with some, you know, catchy sayings that would look nice in a certain font. And so I came up with this, but this is truly what we do. We constantly are trying to be excellent. We want to be excellent at everything we do. That doesn't mean perfect. It just means be excellent. Just try to do that. And then challenges, we are always the company that we don't say no as much as possible. We know our limits in terms of, you know, what our staff can actually physically do. But if there's a challenge and we know we have the ability to do it, maybe we've never done it before, but we know we can, we will.
Yeah.
So, and we do it well, and we always come through, and that's something that we're kind of known for. And then just the purpose. I needed a third sentence, and without purpose, what are you?
Nothing. Yeah, without that, you got nothing. I love the strive, thrive, drive. You know, I just like the way that you went at it. And Dan, you nailed it. The culture, culture is king. You know, and it's funny, you know, it was a few years ago, it was Tom Jackson from Steel Encounters was at BEC, and he was talking about culture. And he talked about how important it was. And that was the first time it really connected with me that, you know, building that culture really matters. And it sounds like you guys have really, you know, kind of, driven that in, and you get a nice setup there. So congrats to you. That's something to be very, very proud of, for sure. So, and
thank
then
you.
and
That has been the emphasis.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that has certainly been the emphasis. When we started All Star Glass Company, or when we had the opportunity to be in business for ourselves, we had to think long and hard about what it is that was going to separate us from everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And it's never been our MO to say, well, those guys don't do that as good as we do, or to try to, our MO is not to beat down our competitors in order to raise ourselves up.
Yeah.
Our MO is to raise up the industry as a whole, and we just have to do something better. We can't just go on the base minimum of, well, we can deliver your project on time and on budget. Well, that's everybody's expectation, is to do that.
Yeah.
We had to differentiate ourselves and make All Star Glass attractive, to attract the best talent, to retain the best talent, and continue to put out these fantastic projects that we do. So from top to bottom, our people know that Dan is going to go back and pick up a broom if that's what he has to do, but I'm not above or beneath any task here that needs to be done.
Right.
From emptying the trashes to pushing a broom to being on job sites and having to make obviously different, more important decisions. But our staff all understands that. We keep it very family-like, very close knit, and very.
We're a team. We're a team. We're a family. In fact, I will tell you, Max, when I was talking about this interview, he was like, well, why can't the staff come in? Let's put the staff on. Let's put our team on. They're the ones that do everything, you know. But so, and we would love to do that. There'd be a whole lot of people here and a lot of over talking, and yeah.
Well, you know what? For those of you watching on YouTube, Jodi, if you can send me a picture of the team, I'll put the picture up on the team while you guys are talking about it. So he'll
have to do it. Yeah, he does all the media stuff.
Yeah, so shoot me a picture of the team. And I was just, when you talk about competition, one thing that my brother and really nailed into my head was that, when somebody would say, who's your biggest competitor, he would always say it's ourselves. If we do everything the right way, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what the other guy does down the street. We've got to do it right. And so,
All the
Yeah,
time.
that's the major thing I tell my people all the time. I don't view the other businesses in town that do what we do as competitors.
right.
I'm not trying to meet their standard. I'm trying to meet our ever improving standard. So if they want to try to catch us or pursue us or think that we're the measure they're trying to reach, then that's good. That honors me as a person and honors us as a company. But for me, like I said, it's always about lifting up our industry, not trying to beat down the other guys and talk about their deficiencies. For us, it's trying to find a silver lining in everything that we do and try to think of everything as a learning opportunity, even the negative. So
absolutely. And I got to tell you, from lifting up the industry side, the projects that are on your website are incredible. And I was just so impressed with all of them. And I always ask guests hey, give me a project to show. And I saw one on your website. I'm like, oh, I really like this one. And Jodi said, oh, no, I got a fresh one to send you. And the one that I'm going to show on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube is Washington State University, the Global Animal Health Building, Phase 2. And I mean, it's a Perkins and Will job. It's spectacular to look at. And you guys did it probably, I believe, at the hardest time of anybody's life to do a job, right in the teeth of COVID. So talk to me about, again, you do so many great projects, but this one obviously was kind of special for Jodi to serve this one up so we could show the audience.
Well, first of all, with this project, we did the phase 1 of it back 8 or 9 years ago. So that was appealing to us. The general contractor team is one that we do a great deal of design build work with. So that was also appealing to us. And then the number of products that's on this, it's really hard to capture all of that.
I noticed a bunch. It was incredible.
I wanted Leah to be able to sit in on this because she really has an intimate knowledge of this project. And I said, well, I didn't run this project. I don't run projects that much anymore, but from the curtain wall to specialty fritted glass to specialty fire rated glass to fire rated frames, there were so many specialty products on this project. And like you said, having to happen during the pandemic while everybody was trying to adapt to what had to happen. And there were some positive, we had some shutdowns of the job for COVID related stuff.
Yeah.
People were testing positive, and just trying to navigate all that basically in lifetime while it's happening was extremely challenging on a project that really had a fast track accelerated schedule, which we did meet. And so that was all of that coming together, I think is why Jodi's so particularly proud of this project. And Leah, my project manager, did a great job of managing the project in spite of all of those challenges, in spite of work startages and stoppages. And then
just all the restrictions that were just all of a sudden thrown on our guys, wearing masks where, you have to wear masks sometimes, or PPE, they're fine with that. But to be asked to perform exactly the same and on time, but 6 feet apart, and you have to give your temperature when you walk in, and then dealing with the different COVID safety officers that are on site, there was just so much extra put on them, and they showed up every day. Every day they showed up with the smile on their face. None of them complained ever. And it was out of town. It was out of town work too.
Yeah.
So there was just a lot thrown on top of us. And we had a few of these jobs going, but this one I would say was the best during COVID. This one performed the best during COVID.
Yeah,
I don't even think they had one COVID shutdown.
Wow.
They just shut down for a week while they were kind of trying to get their game plan going.
What do we do? So
Super proud of our team. It's a gorgeous building. And I always forget about the phase 1. So there's some pictures that we sent you where it's tied into phase 1, which was 7 years ago. So
it is spectacular. And those who are watching on YouTube have seen it as I place them throughout the podcast here. And just, I did not realize, I assumed that there were a bunch of different products, but I did not realize when you just, went through the list, you had the fire rated, you had decorative, you had, the whole shoot match. I mean, that's tough under normal circumstances, let alone under a worldwide pandemic that, that hit you guys, your part of the country in the US first. I mean, you were ahead of this game. That had to be, I mean, how did I'm really curious. The first time I'm asking somebody from the Pacific Northwest, how was it? I mean, you were ground zero. You were the first ones to kind of deal with it. How was it out of the gate dealing with COVID when you kind of look to the east and, we're all in Nashville at BEC living large, and you guys are dealing with your first cases of COVID? That had to be rough.
So we were there.
What's funny is we were at BEC in Nashville actually when the tornado hit. And so we got back, and then I had a personal golf trip planned with a friend.
Yeah.
And then we got back that first week in March. And then I think the week after, basically everything hit us and it shut down.
Yeah.
So
I would say it was surreal because, we all think like, well, they can't do that. You can't shut down everybody.
Right.
But we just, we go with the flow and just make sure, okay, well, if this is happening, then how are we going to still continue doing our business? So it was definitely challenging, but we didn't stop. We didn't slow down. So I would like to, I don't want to say it was embarrassing, but remember we were at the restaurant in Nashville, and we had just golfed, and it was on the news that Seattle had the first case ever. We were watching it in that restaurant, and we were like, oh no, it's us.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like Seattle's right next door to us. Everybody, erroneously thinks that Seattle is all of Washington,
Yes.
and it's not. Seattle's
Yeah.
5 hours away from here. So it's almost like two different states, Eastern Washington and Western Washington, honestly, from just culture to politics there's a lot of stuff that's different here in Eastern Washington than it is in Western Washington. But rightly or wrongly, I suppose, and you'll get varying opinions of this, our governor was pretty proactive in trying to be in front of this as much as they could. And so while I think in retrospect, there was a lot of negative feelings about what they were doing, flash forward 16, 18 months later, we're still living it, unfortunately. And it's still, there's still some restrictions going on and whatnot. So I think there's some challenges that we face there. But overall, I think the response was probably appropriate. I'm sure there was lives that were saved. There was, we really, like I said, we were living it and figuring out in live time and trying to figure out how to address it from equipment purchases. We had right off the bat, we started, because we do a lot of out of town work and we pay per diem, and our guys are often bunked up together.
Yeah.
So immediately we switched everybody to single occupancy rooms. We added a whole bunch of trucks to our fleet so that guys wouldn't have to ride together in trucks together. They could be separate, in the vehicles. So it was quite expensive to address it, honestly, in the beginning. But I think that our state did a good job of responding to it. Our local municipality did a good job of responding to it. And given that we do a lot of medical and educational, thankfully, a lot of our projects were deemed essential projects. And so we had a very short delay of where we could not be on site. I think it was a couple of weeks or less that they decided, it basically was everything shut down, and then they were determining which projects were essential. And like I said, given the nature of the type of projects we do, a lot of our work was essential. And so, again, like Jodi said, kudos to our guys. There was never any panic or concern about whether their safety was ever at risk, and they all responded incredibly well and just showed up and did what they had to do every single day. And our guys are definitely all stars. They are rock stars, and we certainly appreciate our crew. So
no doubt, but kudos to you guys. I mean, just the pivoting to the single rooms and the adding of transportation. Those are great peace of mind items that a lot of companies probably wouldn't, make that move. They would probably go in the other direction of, we better batten down the hatches. So kudos to you guys. Those are really smart, caring, culture related, positive moves. And so I give you a lot of credit for that. A lot of credit. That's well done. I know you two are swamped, and I'm amazed we haven't been interrupted yet by the rest of your team coming in here. So I have one more question. We survived 2020. We're pretty much all the way through 2021. You guys are rolling along. What excites you about the future? What excites you about 2022 and beyond? What's the thing that's got you driving?
Probably workforce is a big one. Washington has again also been in the driver's seat of furthering apprenticeship programs. And this past year, there were grants given for new apprenticeship programs to rise up, which is big. We've had a lot of talks with a few other glass shops in town that we're trying to hopefully at some point talk about an apprenticeship program with.
Nice.
We've been
on the east side. It's very
Yeah.
very well represented on the West Coast, but on the East side, there's nothing for
right here
glazers.
for us.
So we're working hard on that. We had a 18th month delay.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, new products are cool. For me, it's really about our workforce. I have been, like I said, in this a very long time now. The guys that are my age are looking at retirement, and there's this really strange gap of a lot of people that are on their way out and very few people on their way in. Both my brothers are educators in public education. So we have a lot of links and a lot of connections with a variety of people and industries that hopefully are going to fill this pipeline. So it's maybe kind of an exciting thing while simultaneously being a challenge, and that is to get kids attracted back to the trades again.
Yeah.
And trying to figure that out. So for me, as I'm a Gen Xer, I guess. But I have my son is right on the age of being a millennial, and then my daughter is whatever's after that. I'm not sure what the next generation is after that, but
they're both out of high school though.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also chose the non-4-year degree path. So we're those, their parents that are dealing with that too. And, you know, we know there is an extremely huge opportunity for you to have a very successful, very lucrative life in the trades. I would agree with you. That's probably the thing that excites me the most about 2022 is there's so much conversation. There's so much talk out there. So in Spokane, and I don't know if this is, you know, nationwide, because of course I just pay attention to Spokane, but we heard, it was during COVID, right at the end, that, you know, they had running start for kids that are in high school and they could take college courses at the same time. Well, in Spokane, they have now running start for the trades. And so it's the same thing, but instead of, you know, focusing on the 4-year degree, they focus on a trade.
Oh, that's great.
So that is really being pushed this year. In fact, we have our first night of presentation for our school districts in November.
Wonderful.
So just changing the conversation, making sure that kids and parents know this isn't plan B. This isn't an alternative career choice. This is an opportunity that you need to jump on.
It's a huge opportunity, and I love to see it. I love that whole energy behind it, and I think we need to go that way. And there shouldn't be any stigma. I've talked about this with other guests. You know, the stigma of, you know, becoming a plumber or electrician or a glazer or, you know, a painter. You know, that's idiotic to me. And those are great opportunities, and even better now.
We need to film our parking lots of vehicles that these people are driving. Make sure we talk about what vacations they go on. Here's their house that they live in. Like these people are living large. It's an opportunity. Yeah.
And you're doing great things. I mean, what we do is, if you want to talk, you know me, I'm a glass guy. I live for this industry. I love what we do. I love what a world without glass. I mean, you know, that building that you did for the animal hospital at Washington State, I mean, the glass made that building. I mean, that's that's a difference maker there. The architect, you know, Perkins and Wilt did a great job, but without the glass, it doesn't flow. It doesn't shock you. It doesn't blow you away. And so, yeah, I'm biased because I love everything about glass, but
okay, question for you, Max.
Sure.
2022, the year of glass. How about that? Are you going to focus on that at all?
Big time. Yeah. I'm very excited about that. Thrilled.
Me too.
Thrilled that it got that recognition, and it's going to be a fun year. Absolutely, Jodi. Yeah. I can't wait.
There's more media coverage of that, because it's really cool. I made him watch it. And the beginning parts were a little like hard to catch you, you know, and get you to watch the whole film. But right in the middle, I was like, oh my gosh, this is us. We're part of the year of glass. This is so cool.
Yeah, I expect a lot of cool things to come of it. And then there's so much great glass technology that is coming out, at least on our side of the world. You know, I had on David Mikowski from Ubiquitous Energy, Transparent Solar. I think that's fantastic. Next month, I'm going to have the guys on talking about VIG, you know, the vacuum insulated glass. I've had, Sage Glass on about dynamics. I mean, so there's so many great products that we got going, you know, coming down the pike, along with just the standard ones that really make things beautiful, you know? And so, yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. Well,
I had a pretty lengthy conversation with Nick Bagatellos.
About Nicky Bags.
Yeah. So we were sort of involved on a project where he was called in to kind of consult about one of our current projects going on about VIG, and I, not being as educated about as I was, he took the time to have a conversation with me about it, and it was a really exciting performance options that are coming up. And
Oh.
like you said, there's really, really cool stuff coming up in the industry. But I think by and large for us, it's about attracting people to the trades again.
Yep.
Getting some young talent. There's a lot of really smart people out there. And as I began to say, having two young adult children, for me, it's been a transformation of my mindset, my mentality, and how I view this younger generation, and trying to figure out how to get them excited, because just the idea that hard work is what you're supposed to do, and that it's what you're just supposed to do,
right.
That isn't the message they want to hear anymore. So we're trying to figure out how to attract that generation. So that's kind of what excites me more, I think, is relating to a younger generation, still trying to stay relevant, trying to make what we seem do, or trying to convey that what we do is extremely glamorous and lucrative and important to the, not just construction industry, but just the world in general. So
nailed it. Yep, you nailed it. No, and I think we're headed in the right direction. We just keep battling every day, but we're lucky to have people like you. So you guys make a huge difference. That was Dan and Jodi Martinez, owners, vice president of All Star Glass, out in Washington State, Spokane. You can find them at allstarglasscompany.com. Great organization. And thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it, because I know how valuable your time is, and you got tons going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for having us, Max. We appreciate it.
Always. All right. Last but not certainly least this month, I am thrilled that I am being joined by Bill Daubmann. You're the owner and president of My Shower Door, correct? And D3. Do I have that right? I didn't know your title for sure.
Well, okay. So we'll say co-founder, but I am owners along with my two sons. So we're all equal partners. Okay,
good to know. And we're going to talk about your sons as well. And so Bill is with me. Thank you so much for taking the time, because I know you're a dynamo. You are busy 24/7. So thanks for carving out a little time for me today.
To talk to you, Max, is my honor. I say I pinch myself that I'm talking to the real Max Perlstein. I am just honored as can be.
No, the feeling is the other way around. I'm thrilled to get to talk with you, and I'm excited to get to know you, because I didn't know. I was told last week when I told a friend of mine, I've got Bill Daubmann on my podcast, and they said, "Oh, you got to ask him about his days as a hockey referee." Yeah. And I'm like, whoa! I had no idea that was the case. So tell me a little bit about your past. But we're going to talk about My Shower Door and everything you've done. But where'd you come from? And please tell me, the hockey referee thing is fascinating. You're a Florida guy. I didn't see that coming.
Well, I'm not an original Florida guy, and very few people in Florida are original Florida guys. True. I grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts. So Basketball Hall of Fame, Springfield Indian Motorcycle, Smith & Wesson. So a lot of good history out of Springfield. I played junior hockey. I was actually a very good athlete at a young age. I was a very good baseball player, and turned to hockey and loved it. And I became a goalie. So I had very good hand-eye coordination. When I played baseball, I was a catcher. So it kind of going in the equipment stuff kind of stuck. But then I got into officiating because I wanted to make some money.
Yeah.
And I started doing kids games in high school. Then I got into college, Division I, Division II college games. And then I got asked to try out for the pro circuit. Springfield was the home base for the American Hockey League, which is one step down from the National League. And so I tried out there and did very well. And I had 10 seasons from 1980 to 1990 in the American Hockey League.
Wow. And that's the wild, wild west of hockey too. So you were probably in the middle of a ton of different scrums in the 80s and 90s there. Wow.
I was. And, I was the first guy to start wearing a helmet before they were mandated for the officials.
Okay.
Even when I was a goalie, we were wearing face masks. I wasn't that old where the original goalies weren't wearing face masks, but I had that old fiberglass molded type, not the basket type that they wear now. But yeah, it was a great career. Met a lot of people, didn't make a lot of money, but boy, great experience. But one of the best experiences I ever learned there was how to get into the middle of an altercation and come out with all your teeth and still make both parties relatively happy. And I translated that into business, and it worked really well.
That's a great lead into, because the glass industry can be rough and tumble, and you've been on all different sides of it. So how did you end up, because I know that you morphed kind of into where you're at now. It was an evolution over time. So take me through the process of, where you were when you got into business and up to today.
Sure. So when we started in business, I'm going to give you a little something you didn't ask for.
Please.
It's like, why did we get into business?
Yes.
Why did we be entrepreneurs? Because I had a job. I was selling alarm systems.
Okay.
I went to school for electrical technology, got my degree in that, and was doing alarm systems. I was a head technician. Then I got into sales. But I'm sure you know my son Keith, my oldest son Keith. He was 10 at the time, and he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Doug, our younger son, 4 years behind him, was still young. Doug was, 6 going on 7. And there's no way that I could be traveling all over the country doing hockey games and Donna have to transport Keith to get treatments and all. Right. So we had to figure out a way where we could be self-employed and it could pay the hospital bills and everything. So we started doing closet shelving. I happened to stumble across an opportunity for doing closet organizing systems. Mm-hmm. And I got into that. And that was around 1986. Okay. And we built up that business. I was doing a lot of local contractors. And it's that white wire closet made shelving. Yep. Yeah, you're familiar with that. And up in New England, no one ever heard of it. And it was before the days of Lowe's and Home Depot.
Sure.
So we had a dealership that we did. And I built that business pretty darn good. And then builders came to me and say, hey, can you do our shower doors? I can't get my tile guy to do it. The glass guy just doesn't want to touch it. And my tile guys don't want to do it. Nobody wants to do it. Plumbers didn't want to do it. So I said, sure, I'll learn. And I didn't know the first thing about it. And fortunately, a mutual friend introduced me to Tom Whitaker, who owns Mr. Shower Door, Norwalk, Connecticut, who's an absolute icon in the industry.
He is. Big time. Big
time.
And
I learned everything from Tom, everything. And to this day, we're still very good friends. We'll meet up at GlassBuild every year and go out to dinner.
Nice.
And Tom taught us everything. And I know everything that I've learned in the shower door business, I learned from Tom. And then as we continued to grow that Mr. Shower Door brand in Massachusetts, I ended up selling and moving to Florida, which was the best move ever.
Yes.
Getting away from that weather and having nice weather year round. So you can boat, golf, fish, do whatever you want year round. And tax benefits were much better in Florida. There was no state income tax, very business friendly area.
Yes.
And we made a decision when we moved here. We weren't going to do the closet shelving. We were only going to do the shower doors. And for the first 3 or 4 years of existence in Florida, and that happened in 2001. So I had 15 years of Mr. Shower Door up in the Massachusetts area.
Right.
We sold it, moved here, and had to start from scratch with knowing nobody in the industry. I had no contacts. We started in Naples in 2003. And as of today, we have 9 locations, manufacturing and distribution facility in Fort Myers, and we're up to 132 employees.
Incredible.
And that's happened now in 19 years.
Incredible. Kudos to you. And I mean, obviously, you come to a place and you know no one, you have no connections, and you start from the ground up. And and Keith, obviously, and we're, there's so many different directions we're going to go in, but Keith obviously is healthy now, and he's 100% these days. Anybody who follows social media, especially LinkedIn, Keith is an icon. I mean, he's a legend. There's no question. And you're still, before we move into the business, you guys are still Boston sports fans, I assume. Still Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, and so on. You haven't switched.
Yeah, it's in our blood.
Florida teams. Okay.
And the beautiful thing is, yes, we like the Bucks because Brady and Gronkowski are here.
Sure.
But also, Red Sox have their training camp a mile and a half from here. Perfect. So it's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. So, okay. So business wise, you get started. And I mean, the big thing is that you have never done anything, at least in the years I've known you, by the book. You've always kind of forged your own path. Your marketing is always very creative. And I get accused, it's funny. I write about you, quite a bit because you're either on the Inc. top 500 list or the Inc. top 100 list, or you're getting an award from the city council or the Chamber of Commerce, or, the vice president's coming by your place, or the governor, and so I do mention you quite a bit, that people will say, Max, when did you pick up my shower door as a client? And I'm like, they're not. I mean, he just makes a lot of news because they're really good at what they do. Where did this marketing, desire, this drive? Because a lot of your growth is not because you guys make a great product, because you do. It's also because of the way that you present yourselves to the market and to customers. Where did this all come from for you?
I've always been pretty intuitive. And I know that you could have the best product in the world, and if you don't market it, nobody's going to know about it.
Right.
So the good thing is, if you have good news, I've learned that the newspapers, the news medias, they want those stories. They need those stories. And a lot of people just don't share it.
Yeah.
So you start to build a network of communication with the people in the know. I reached out to you and gave you a few stories and you said, boy, this is great. That's how it works, both locally, regionally, everywhere. So, and people like to be attached to companies that are growing and be part of something that's bigger than them, but they also want to have some good news. We're not opposed to sharing good news, but it's trying to be smart or clever enough to figure out how can you make yourself relevant?
Yeah.
How can you put yourself out there without sounding boastful? But it's still something that everybody can learn from and grow. And as I watch this glass industry, there's a lot of great contractors out there, but they're not marketing themselves like they could. Business comes to them and they don't need to. Well, when we moved to Florida, business wasn't coming to me. I had nobody. So we had to learn how to do that creative marketing. And I bought a book while Keith was going through his treatment called Guerrilla Marketing. And it's basically how to market yourself on a bootstrap budget. And those are the things we've done. Press releases that cost you nothing, just giving good stories to the people in the know.
And you've done that. And what I've said to you a few times, and I mention usually when I write about you, is I love the fact that everything you do raises the image of the glass industry as a whole. You know, and to me, that's very important as a glass guy. I mean, I love that when you're on a top 500 list or a top 100 list, that makes us all look good because look at, we've got this great company we could look at. And obviously, I think you benefit both ways. You know, you benefit from, the personal business, but also when the industry gets better, you're in a better place too.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And this social media has just amplified the potential of what any small business company should be able to do. But they just have to take the time to do it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And so a couple of the things that I wanted to call out that you've done in case people have missed is the Wolf's Den takeoff of Shark's Tank that you did it for the local high school there, which was brilliant and wonderful. And you should be on the regular Shark's Tank, my friend. I mean, you are so good, and you took it so serious and so perfect. And also the name and likeness with Peter Simmons III at U of M. I'm a Michigan guy. I'm excited that yep, there you go. I love it. The PS3 factor, and I love that he's at U of M. How did both of these come about? I assume the high school probably contacted you, or let's talk about the Wolf's Den first. How did that come about?
All right. So the Wolf Den project was a brainchild of Kevin Schell, who's the teacher of the business and marketing department at South Fort Myers High School.
Gotcha.
They were running on a grant given by the Governor DeSantis, state of Florida, to help high school kids get into business for themselves. So he runs the entrepreneurship division of South Fort Myers High School. He came up with the Shark Tank knockoff, and I've known Kevin. I used to mentor his high school students when he was in Naples, probably 15 years ago.
Gotcha.
I was the first one he reached out to and asked me to quarterback his advisory board and get this thing going. So I reached out to Jen at Fort Myers Brewery, a nice microbrewery that's up and coming, the owner of Fort Myers Infinity, Alfie Townsend, who's very well known in the area as a financial advisor, and Jared Stressen-Reuter, who owns a Divine Digital. He does apps for companies and websites. So the five of us decided to be the Wolves. The reason the Wolves is that's South Fort Myers mascot, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's why we call it the Wolf Den instead of the Shark Tank.
Good.
And Kevin got 5 students to create business plans and come up with their business models, and you saw the tape on it. My wife and I invested in 2 of those students.
Nice.
One, a girl from Michigan that moved on that has a candle making business, and another boy from Louisiana, and he came up with a Cajun chicken recipe called Youngins Kickin' Chicken.
Okay.
And we figured that would be a food truck for him and it would survive during COVID.
Yep.
And we got to get him started. And both of them are only juniors in high school.
Unbelievable.
So they still have a full year at the school. And we've made the investment. We've got the bank account going, and the girl's already got her first order for 250 candles.
Wow, wonderful! That's fantastic. Yeah. That's fantastic. And again, I love what you're doing there. And the kickin' chicken, the candles are great, but I have a feeling the kickin' chicken is going to take off very nicely too. So that's something to keep our eyes on.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Now let's talk about Peter. And the name and likeness is something that's brand new, and it's funny. Every single day there's a different player signing with a different organization. I think Clemson's quarterback just signed with Dr. Pepper. I love the fact that to date, still, I think you're the only one in the glass and glazing industry that has done this. The publicity you got was tremendous. Again, it goes back to your guerrilla marketing. It cost you virtually nothing. And you had 10 newspaper articles and all over social. So it was great. How did this all come about? And will we see you in the great state of Michigan? You're going to come to the big house and watch your investment play.
We are. Yeah, now, here's the thing. He's a freshman. He probably won't even get a snap this year.
True at Michigan,
But parents get tickets, and the parents have invited us to go up this year. I don't know what game. So Don and I are planning to go up. Keith wants to go as well. Now, Keith and Peter hit it off really well. Keith's a younger age. And if you ever met Peter, he's the most quiet, humble kid you'd ever meet. And Keith's getting him to come out of his shell. The first week that Keith did his podcast, he did it with it was John Madden's grandson, Jesse Madden, who's going to Michigan as a quarterback. He's also a freshman. Second week, he had a wide receiver from California that was a freshman. So Peter brings these guests on.
Nice.
So this week, we can't do a podcast because they're all away at a camp, kind of bonding as a team.
Right.
And they'll be gone off the grid for a couple of weeks. So Keith and I are trying to connect right now with a company up in Tampa that signed a Miami Hurricane quarterback.
Okay.
They own College Hunks Junk.
Right. They're movers. Yeah, the college movers. Yeah, right.
And trash disposal guys. And we're going to see if we can do a joint podcast to try and encourage other small businesses, because it's good community involvement. I mean, Peter is connected in the area. His father was the mayor of Bonita Springs.
Right.
So he's got connections as well. And we want to benefit off of his social media presence. And people want to do business with people that give back to the community. It's a community involvement.
And again, smart marketing. And when it comes to Keith, I think could get a rock to come out of its shell and make it dance and smile, because he is blessed with a personality like nobody's business. I'm a big fan of Keith. And so I love what you're doing there. And you have my shower door, but then you have the manufacturing side, and that was a tough decision for you, I assume, to get into that, and also not an easy one. How did that all come about, and how's that all going today? Because not everybody can do what you're doing.
Okay, so, and thank you for recognizing that. My other son, Doug, who's the one that flies under the radar,
exactly,
is very, very, very mechanically inclined, and we were buying a lot of glass from different suppliers as we were starting our business. And we got to the point where the best supplier that we could find was Coral Industries out of Tuscaloosa. But we were getting only a truck once a week. And if you know builders, they don't even let you measure, because when the tile's still wet and they're closing that afternoon, and then you're supposed to go measure and get them a frameless door. So that was problem number one. Problem number two is, if you did get the truck, was it chipped, scratched, because it's being trucked from Tuscaloosa? And number three, we are still humans and we make mistakes, and sometimes the glass was ordered incorrectly. So to think about all of those, we had to decide, are we buying enough glass to justify buying the equipment and making our own glass?
Right.
So Doug ran all the numbers. He went over to many other glass manufacturing plants, looked at it, went to the GlassBuild and sat down with, at that time, Botero was the one that had a nice package deal for us. So we bought a lot of Botero equipment at the time.
Right.
And then we got a Moppy tempering furnace, and Moppy is just world renowned for their tempering furnaces. So it grew and it grew, and then we had to fill our capacity. I mean, we had a big beast now we have to fit. So that's why we had to open more of my shower doors to give ourselves more business and sell to other local glass vendors that were in the same boat we were in. They didn't have great vendor or suppliers in the Naples area. Naples was a bedroom community with very little manufacturing. So when Lee County found out that we were going to be picking Lee County to be the manufacturing, they were just thrilled, thrilled.
Sure.
And it's proven to be the right choice. Timing was on our side. We bought the building at the low in the real estate market. It's gone up since. We bought all our equipment at the low in the glass industry market when the times were really bad. And I'd like to say that I was brilliant and I planned it out, but that's not the case, Max. It was just very lucky timing.
Well, I'll say you were brilliant. So you get kudos from me on that one.
I will take it.
You know,
not deserved.
sometimes you make your own luck, and I think that,
happens.
that you guys did, and you jumped into it, and that's the way you've been, with everything you're doing. You figure it out, you work through the numbers, and again, I think it's nice with the mix that you have with your sons, and I know your wife is involved, and the collaboration there, I think, really really works, and that probably makes life a little easier on you. It's not all on your shoulders.
Yeah, when we first started, it was when the kids were young and going through Keith's treatments and all, and it was just Donna and I, and we only had 3 or 4 employees back then as we grew. But once we moved to Florida and the boys were on board, it made such a world of difference.
Yeah.
Keith with the sales, and he takes off with sales, and Doug, he was equally as good in sales, but he's really good on the manufacturing side and setting it all up. So we've really got the right team. And plus, I've heard war stories about working with families, and it just isn't the case here. We all know our role. We made a pact that we come in together and we go out together.
Right.
And Don and I are still young enough and healthy enough to continue to participate on a daily basis, but we are building a team of a good organizational team with general managers and managers all the way down the road. So maybe we can take some vacation time and enjoy ourselves.
That would be good. And I will tell you, everybody from your organization that I've come in contact with outside of you and Keith have been so classy. So they represent you very well. So kudos to you and the team. And I do know the family business well. I mean, I worked with my brother, worked with my sister, worked with my dad, my cousin. And you're right. It can be a very, very tough dynamic. And the story I always tell, I give you guys credit. The story I always tell was when I was growing up, I was 10 years younger than my brother and sister. I was 10 years younger than my brother, 12 than my sister. My dad was in the business. So it was really only my mom and I that weren't in the business at that point. And we would have family dinners. And, my dad and my brother and sister could get pretty heated over what went on during the day. And my mother always had this gimmick, we would call it. She would go, "So how's the weather?" That was the cue to, change that subject right away, because it could get pretty heated. And then when I actually joined the business, it got heated too, because I was emotional. I was young and I trying to impress, my brother is like my hero, and I was trying to get on his good side. And, my mother had to really break out the how's the weather thing quite a bit then. But I give you guys credit for doing it. It's a tough dynamic.
It really is. And again, I go back to my refereeing days. That's where all that experience pays off, man. It's not to say that I've never had to break up a fight between Doug and Keith in their younger days. Yeah, they've had their arguments, brotherly stuff, but right now they'll do anything for each other. It's really, it's a great dynamic.
I love that it all comes back to the reffing. I didn't even plan that. It all comes back to the reffing. So what's next? Again, as I told people that I was going to have you on, amongst the questions I got were, like I told you earlier, have they been a client? You love these guys, you're in the tank for these guys. But one of the questions I got is, all right, what's the next frontier for them? Are they going to grow out of Florida? Are they going to get into a different business? I mean, because you have so much energy and you have so much to give. If you can tell me what's on the books for you guys.
We've got a couple of things. One immediate one right now is we just made another investment. We're going to start doing our lamination line. We're investing in a huge autoclave that's ready to be shipped next week.
Congrats.
Actually, our general manager and maintenance people are there at the testing facility today as they pressurize it for the first time. As you know, Keith started my architectural glass, which is a shoot off of my shower door. So we've been doing a lot of wine closets, office partitions, glass railing systems. So we'll be able to make production amounts of impact glass. I also have some good connections within the state so that when public buildings get bid on for ballistic glass and possibly switchable glass, we'll be able to make that here as well.
Wonderful.
So that's on the immediate horizon. As far as my shower door, we're still looking at adding new locations, again, to feed the beast that we're creating here. We're bringing in 2 new fabricating machines, so we'll have redundancy in every operation we have. We already have 2 cutting lines, 3 washing lines. We have a water jet and CNC, so we're going to get another water jet, another CNC. We have 2 MOPI furnaces, because when we built the new building, I couldn't be out of business for the month that it takes to tear down the furnace and the other month to rebuild it in a new location. So we bought a second furnace. But fortunately, now we're very, very redundant.
Good.
So that'll allow us to go to a second shift and still let maintenance work on the equipment to keep the initial equipment up and running. So we do want to open more shower door locations, at least throughout Florida. And some of it that you probably don't know, Max, is we have these 6 affiliate stores, which are, it's kind of a shoot off. It's not a franchise, but what it is they buy our business model and we teach them how to run a frameless shower door business on their own. So we have 2 of them in Oklahoma. We have one in Western Michigan in Grand Rapids.
Gotcha.
There's one in Minneapolis, one in St. Paul, and there's one in York, Pennsylvania. Nice. So we have 6 that I'm in discussions with, a couple in Texas and a couple in, trying to think of the other stuff. Oh, Arizona. So that would be their own business. It won't be a My Shower Door, but they'll be able to use our proprietary hardware. Over the years, we've developed hardware that's different than what's available to everybody through the common CRL or portal or FHA things. Not that theirs are bad, just that ours are different. We've made modifications to it that we've found in the field from hands-on experience that we think makes it a better product.
Right. No, I love it. And I will tell you, Grand Rapids is a hot area, from being me from Michigan. And on the same podcast a little earlier, Chris Dolan from Guardian Glass was on, and a couple of the projects he showed were in Grand Rapids, and it's jumping. So that's a great little store that'll do very, very well up there in that area. And I love the plans, and congrats on the My Architectural Glass and getting into laminating. Laminating's huge, and impact's not going away. I mean, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on Tropical Storm Fred coming up the coast here, and impact impacts you every fall, and so it's never going to go away. And so it's smart you're getting into that business. Another nice move.
And Keith's getting bids all the time for railings. All these high rises in Naples and Fort Myers on the water all have the aluminum, the metal aluminum railings.
Yeah,
you change that out to glass. The vision that you've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that view on the water, now you can get nice glass.
Yeah.
So that's going to open up that whole market for us. And the rumor is somewhere down the road, shower doors may be required to be laminated. Yeah, I mean, you can add a film to the outside now to add a layer of protection, which is a good idea. But if the shower door industry does get mandated, we'll be already ready to go.
Beautiful.
So that's kind of the idea there.
Beautiful. Well, my last question is, I assume I'll see you at GlassBuild. You mentioned that you do come every year, so I'll get to see you in Atlanta next month.
We were one of the first ones to sign up when Andrew reached out to Keith. I think the next day, or it was June 1st sign up. We were all on board. We're coming in Sunday at the Omni. Keith and I will be there. So if any one of your listeners is going in early on Sunday night, we'll be at the Omni, and we'll be over there first thing Monday morning. I think I fly out later Tuesday afternoon to get back here.
Well, folks.
And we're bringing 6 from here, myself, Keith, and 4 others.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing you there. And folks, getting to spend time with these guys is a pleasure. And I'm glad I got a half hour out of you today. I really appreciate you taking the time, and congrats on everything good that's going on, and keep up the great work. I can't wait to see not only what you have next, going with the production, the laminating and all the different things, but also the next great marketing move you make. You surprise me. There's no way I can guess what you have coming next. So I can't wait to see it. So best to you and the family, and keep up the great work, please.
Thanks, Max. Again, I'm still pinching myself. I get to talk to the great Max Pearlstein. Thank you for being that beacon of sound and light for our industry. You make us relevant. And it's very, very important. I'll do anything to help support you.
I appreciate that. And thank you for doing all you do for the industry. This has been great to have you on here. See you soon. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay, so normally at the end of each show, I talk about fun stuff, TV, music, radio. So I've asked Chris to come back and join me for this section on what we're watching, because he and I sometimes will share things back and forth. So Chris, give me your recommendation. What should I be watching these days? Netflix and so on and so forth. What else? What should I be checking out?
So Max, I'm going to give you one that I've watched and one that I will watch. And the one that I've watched, which I recommend, is The Last Tsars.
Okay.
6 episodes. The story of the Romanov and the demise of the dynasty, I guess, in Russia. Brutal story, and I think it's a really good combination of a bit of a history lesson and drama. And
gotcha.
It's a train wreck, and the train is going to crash, and it finally does at the end. And
Okay.
Yeah, but it's pretty well done, really well done. I would recommend that, especially if you have any interest in history. I know you do.
Yes.
The one that you should watch, which I know you will watch, and I will, is Malice in the Palace, because I watched that live.
Yes.
But I haven't seen the documentary yet, so I will be watching that soon.
I watched that yesterday when it came out, because you know me and I live for it. It is part of the Untold series on Netflix, and it's very well done. And there's also new things that even though I feel like I know that story completely, and then you're going to watch and you know the story completely, they bring some things out that you did not know on this. And so very, very well done. So yeah, so I love it. We're on the same page. So there you go. The two good ones. So Chris is my guest to help me with the TV choices. So there you go for this month. Good TV to watch, The Last Stars, and then Untold, The Malice at the Palace.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And that will wrap things up for this month. I look forward to seeing everybody at GlassBuild. But before GlassBuild, I will have a podcast, and I'm very excited. Jim Evans from BidClips is going to be on that podcast. Michael Spellman from VIG Technologies and IGE Glass Technologies is going to be on that podcast. And also, I'm going to have one more guest. I haven't completely confirmed it, but a big one and a good one from a major company in this industry who will be very, very crucial at GlassBuild and very visible. So 3 good GlassBuild related guests next month before the show. Sign up for the show, glassbuild.com. Thank you everyone for listening or watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next month.
Oh, the music is stopped.